stop, collaborate, and listen to this. I'm Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, a name synonymous with 90s rap, has always been a polarizing figure. But what if everything we thought we knew about him was just the surface? In a shocking revelation, he opens up about why he chose to escape the industry's dark side, refusing to join the so-called club. What pushed him to walk away from fame, fortune, and everything he worked for? Let's find out his untold story and the shocking truth behind his decision. The meteoric rise of Vanilla Ice all started with a beat. A simple rhythm echoed through a Dallas alley, where a young Robert Van Winkle spun on cardboard, sweat dripping down his brow, sneakers scraping pavement as he moved to the music. He wasn't famous yet. Just a kid with energy to burn and a love for breakdancing that couldn't be contained. People knew him in the neighborhood, not for rapping, not for fame, but for his moves. They called him Vanilla because he was the only white kid in the crew. And Ice? That came later, when his footwork left people frozen in awe. Back then, he didn't think about record deals or stardom. He just wanted to move. Dance battles in sketchy clubs, open mics in smoky backrooms, and countless hours on the floor, training with a passion that didn't need an audience. But life has a funny way of redirecting you. One night, while spinning and popping in a Miami club, a promoter handed him a mic. Let's see if the white boy can spit too. And he did. Not polished, not perfect, but raw, hungry, and real. The crowd went silent. Then wild. That moment changed everything. He started performing regularly, opening for artists like MC Hammer and NWA. He wasn't just a dancer anymore, he was a rapper. His stage name, Vanilla Ice, stuck. At first, people laughed. A white rapper? But he kept showing up. He kept rapping. And slowly, they stopped laughing. The crowd got bigger. The energy? Different. You could feel it, like static in the air. Like something was about to explode. Then came the tape. Ice Ice Baby was recorded with a cheap mic and dreams bigger than his budget. It was raw, catchy, and something new. It wasn't supposed to be the hit. It was the B-side to a cover of Play That Funky Music. But DJs started flipping it. They played the B-side, and people couldn't get enough. The beat, a bassline borrowed from Queen and David Bowie, hit hard. And the flow? Unmistakable. It had swagger, even if it wasn't born in the streets that people expected it from. In interviews years later, Vanilla Ice said, "It was a fluke. I never thought it would get big. We were just kids having fun, trying to make a little noise. Next thing you know, it's playing everywhere. No one saw it coming." Ice Ice Baby exploded. It became the first hip-hop single to top the Billboard Hot 100. For the first time, a white rapper wasn't just accepted, he was leading the charts. Vanilla Ice went from club gigs to arenas, from cardboard stages to global tours. People chanted his name. Girls screamed. Kids dressed like him. Hair shaved on the sides, oversized jackets, and a confidence that seemed untouchable. His album, To the Extreme, followed quickly and shattered expectations. It sold over 15 million copies. He was everywhere: TV, radio, magazines, commercials, cartoons. You couldn't escape Vanilla Ice in the early 90s. He was mainstream's new golden boy, a crossover nobody saw coming. In one interview, he remembered, "I couldn't walk into a mall without security. People were fainting. It was insane. I felt like I was in a dream." The success was surreal. Shows sold out in minutes. Kids memorized every lyric. He performed on Saturday Night Live. He was parodied on In Living Color and The Simpsons, but even those jokes were proof he had arrived. You don't get spoofed unless you're huge. He laughed later, saying, "They were roasting me left and right. But deep down, I knew, if they're joking about you, you're still relevant." He even starred in a movie, Cool as Ice, which he admits now wasn't great. "Man, that was a weird time. I had no idea what I was doing. They just said, 'Here, be cool,' and I tried," he said, chuckling in a later interview. He was at the center of a cultural shift, hip-hop going mainstream, crossing color lines, reaching suburban kids who didn't know the Bronx but knew every word of Ice Ice Baby. Everything in the world comes with a price, including fame. For Vanilla Ice, the cost wasn't money or success, it was something far more personal, and far more unexpected. Fame didn't knock on Vanilla Ice's door, it kicked it open, rushed in like a storm, and took over every inch of his life. One minute, he was just Rob from Dallas. Next, he was a global icon. But what looked like a dream from the outside was starting to feel like a cage on the inside. At first, everything moved too fast to notice. There were bright lights, screaming fans, and limos waiting outside the venue. He didn't stop to ask why the magazine headlines all called him something he didn't feel like. Teen heartthrob. Pop star. Sensation. He didn't feel like any of that. He felt like a kid trying to keep up with a machine that wouldn't stop spinning. Behind the scenes, the record label had other ideas. They started changing things, subtly at first. A few tweaks to his image. A few lines were removed from his interviews. Then came the big shift. His real story? The one about being a poor kid raised in rough neighborhoods, about learning to dance before he could write bars? Too raw, they said. Too gritty. So they polished him up. They rewrote his past. Suddenly, he wasn't where he said he was. His roots were blurred, the edges softened. His pain didn't fit the shiny box they wanted to sell. They crafted a new version of him, someone more digestible for the mainstream. A white rapper with a clean look, cool moves, and no mess. He remembered sitting in a room with a team of men in suits, arguing about what kind of sneakers he should wear on tour. Don't wear that. Teens won't relate. Change your hair. Smile more. Say this in interviews. Never that. They weren't asking him. They were telling him. The worst part was that it was working. Fans screamed louder. Sales exploded. He was everywhere. But somewhere in all of that noise, he lost his voice. He wasn't writing songs from his heart anymore. He was performing what others wrote for him. The beats, the lyrics, the image, it all belonged to the machine now. He was just the face. He once said, "I felt like a puppet. They pulled the strings. I danced." There was a night after a massive show, thousands of fans, lights flashing, fireworks going off. It should have been the best night of his life. But when he got back to his hotel room, it was silent. Just him, alone. He stood in front of the mirror and did not recognize the guy staring back. The chain, the jacket, the smile, it all felt like someone else. The cost kept rising slowly at first, then all at once, until it reached a point where it did not just shake him, it nearly destroyed him completely. Hitting rock bottom. The stage lights used to feel warm. They used to feel like home. But over time, they started to burn. Each show, each cheer, each spotlight turned into something heavier. Vanilla Ice was no longer just exhausted. He was empty. The fame that once lifted him high had started pulling him under. He smiled for the cameras. He laughed in interviews. He played the part like he was supposed to. But inside, he was slipping further and further away from himself. Late nights turned into dark mornings. He stopped caring what city he woke up in. Hotel rooms blurred together. He would stare at the ceiling and wonder how everything got so loud on the outside but so silent in his head. The crowd still roared, but he could not feel it anymore. Not the way he used to. The music did not help. The money did not help. The attention definitely did not help. So he looked for something that would. It started small. A few pills to take the edge off. Something to help him sleep, then something to help him wake up. Something to numb the constant spinning in his head. It felt like control at first. But it was not. The substances were quiet at first. Then they became the only thing that talked. There were nights when he could not even remember his own lyrics. He would forget what city he was in. One night, someone asked him how he was doing backstage, and he just stared at the wall like the question did not make sense. How was he doing? He did not even know who he was anymore. He was 27 when his body finally gave out. He woke up in a hospital bed, machines beeping around him. The overdose did not kill him, but it could have. He looked down at the wires in his arms and thought, so this is how it ends? But it did not end there. It got worse. Even after the hospital, the darkness did not leave. He thought he could outrun it by changing cities, by working harder, by pretending everything was fine. But the depression followed him. It sat beside him on flights. It watched him from the corner of every empty room. He started avoiding people. Friends, family, and interviews. He did not want anyone to see how far he had fallen. He could not explain it, not even to himself. The guy who used to own the stage now could not even face his own reflection. Then came the moment he never talks about easily. In 1994, he reached his lowest point. One quiet evening, in a room no one else was in, he looked around and felt like there was nothing left. Not of the fame, not of the music, not of himself. He tried to end it. He did not want attention. He did not want help. He just wanted the noise to stop. But something went wrong. Or maybe something went right. A friend showed up. A door opened. A call came through. Whatever it was, it pulled him back. When he talks about it now, he does not dramatize it. He speaks quietly, like someone still trying to make sense of it all. He says he was lost, truly lost, and the scariest part was how normal that started to feel. The world never saw that side. The world saw the cool jackets, the fast cars, the music videos. But behind the curtain was a man unraveling in slow motion. Rock bottom did not come with a crash. It came with silence. It came with numbness. It came with the feeling that no one really knew him, not the fans, not the label, not even himself. He once said, "I had everything people dream about. But I felt like nothing." That sentence lingered. It was not the kind of thing you expect from someone who topped charts and sold out stadiums. But maybe that is the point. The outside never tells the full story. He did not climb out overnight. There was no sudden fix. It took time. It took admitting he was broken. It took walking away from the noise, from the fake smiles, from the version of himself he never really wanted to be. That near-death experience did not end him. It woke him up. The person who emerged afterwards was not the same Vanilla Ice the world thought it knew. This one was quieter, more cautious, more honest. For the first time, he picked up the pen not to make a hit, but to say something that actually meant something. It was 1995, a year when hip-hop was changing fast. The East Coast and West Coast were clashing, artists like Tupac and Biggie were dominating the scene, and the sound was raw, personal, and powerful. It was not about flashy clothes or catchy hooks anymore. It was about truth. About pain. About real life. And Vanilla Ice? He was standing at the edge of all that, feeling like an outsider in a world that did not know what to do with him anymore. He saw the direction hip-hop was going, more real, more rooted, and for the first time, he saw a path he might actually belong on. Not as a product. Not as a punchline. But as a person with something honest to say. He started over. From the ground up. Writing music without anyone whispering over his shoulder. Producing tracks with sounds that actually felt like him. Darker. Grungier. Rougher around the edges. And that was the point. He did not want it polished anymore. He did not want to be safe. People called it career ending. They said he would never sell like he used to. But he did not care. For the first time, he was finally building something real. Not a character. Not a brand. Just himself. People were always curious about why he walked away right when he was on top. Years later, he finally revealed the real reason, and it is one that might just surprise you. In November 2023, Vanilla Ice, whose real name is Rob Van Winkle, gave one of his most honest interviews in years when he sat down with Vlad TV. For decades, the world mostly remembered him as the guy behind Ice Ice Baby, the first hip-hop single to top the Billboard charts. But in this interview, Vanilla Ice finally spoke openly about why he left the music industry and what he went through behind the scenes. He began by explaining the pressure that came with fame. At just 23 years old, Vanilla Ice was suddenly everywhere. Magazine covers, sold-out shows, screaming fans, it was overwhelming. He said it felt like more pressure than even Elvis had faced because he was thrust into stardom without being fully prepared. He compared it to what Justin Bieber later went through, where sudden fame at a young age brought both adoration and intense scrutiny. In the Vlad TV interview, he admitted that the pressure crushed him. He began using harmful substance just to cope. He said he did not even realize how bad it had gotten until one day, he nearly died from an overdose. He was 27. That moment shook him. He said he looked at himself in the mirror and did not recognize the person staring back. That was when he knew something had to change. He stepped away from music. Not because he stopped loving it, but because the industry had turned something he loved into something that was slowly killing him. He said he did not want to die a cliché, like so many young stars who burn out too soon. That overdose was his wake-up call. During the interview, he also opened up about how he felt manipulated during the peak of his career. He described how the industry crafted a version of him that he did not recognize. The clothes, the hair, the way he was told to act, it was not him. He said he was treated like a product, not a person. Even though he was breaking records and selling millions of albums, he did not feel any joy. In another conversation he had earlier with Hip Online, he shared how deeply disconnected he felt from the image that had been built around him. He was constantly being told what to do, what to say, and how to look. He mentioned being pushed into doing things that did not feel right, posing a certain way, wearing clothes he did not like, and acting like the version of Vanilla Ice that executives thought would sell the most records. Looking back, he said it felt like he was a puppet on strings. He was also honest about how fake everything started to feel. People around him only seemed to care about what he could offer them. When the fame started to fade, many of those same people disappeared. He realized that very few relationships in that world were real. It made him question everything, including his own self-worth. In the Interview magazine feature, he talked about how he found peace in stepping away. He discovered a new purpose in real estate and home renovation. Unlike the music industry, where he constantly felt controlled, this work gave him freedom and joy. He said he loved seeing something broken and turning it into something beautiful. It became his therapy. He also talked about how important his family and close friends became during this time. They grounded him. He said he finally understood what real happiness looked like, not fast cars or platinum records, but genuine connection. For the first time in a long time, he felt like himself again. When asked if he would ever return to music, Vanilla Ice did not shut the door completely. He said he still loves performing, but only on his own terms. He does occasional shows and loves connecting with fans who grew up with his music. But he made it clear he will never go back to the industry machine that nearly destroyed him. He did not sugarcoat anything in the interview. He talked about anxiety, loneliness, and the loss of identity. He described waking up one day and feeling like he was living someone else's life. He said, "You become a character that you never created." That line stood out. It summed up how much control he had lost. One of the most powerful parts of the Vlad TV interview was when he reflected on how young stars today face the same challenges. He said fame at a young age is a dangerous thing if you do not have a strong support system. He hopes his story can be a lesson not just for artists, but for the industry itself. He is not bitter. He is not trying to blame anyone. But he is also not afraid to speak the truth. Vanilla Ice left the music industry because it stopped being healthy for him. He chose life. He chose peace. And today, he has found both. After stepping away from the chaos of the spotlight, Vanilla Ice embarked on a surprising journey of redemption and self-discovery that left his fans stunned and inspired. After Vanilla Ice stepped away from the music industry, his life became a testament to the possibility of reinvention and redemption. No longer a part of the fast-paced world of pop culture, he found himself navigating new waters, seeking personal fulfillment outside of the spotlight that had once defined his life. But rather than fading into the background, his journey took a fascinating turn that surprised fans and critics alike. At the time when many expected Vanilla Ice to disappear into obscurity, he chose to reinvent his musical identity. It was not about chasing the same fame he had once had, nor about regaining his past glory. The decision to explore new genres was more of an internal evolution than a response to external pressure. In the late 90s, he released Hard to Swallow, a record that marked a sharp turn away from his earlier pop-rap image. It was not an attempt to win back the masses or fit into a specific genre box. Instead, Ice explored darker themes and a more personal sound, an expression of what he had lived through and what he was learning about himself. The album was gritty and honest, and in many ways, it was more of a reflection of where he had been and where he was going than a calculated move in the music business. What followed was a musical evolution that defied expectations. Ice was not attempting to recreate his old sound. He was not trying to be the Vanilla Ice that everyone thought they knew. Instead, he experimented with rock, grunge, and even industrial elements in his music, and these genres reflected his internal struggle and growth. His fans, who had known him as a chart-topping rap sensation, found this transition jarring at first. But as the years passed, more people began to understand that the shift was not a mere gimmick, it was Ice seeking his voice, his authenticity. While his musical career was evolving, Vanilla Ice was also embracing a completely different lifestyle. He ventured into the world of real estate, something that would become just as significant as his music career in defining who he was as a person. He had always been passionate about home renovation, a skill he picked up over the years, and in the process of reinvention, he decided to build something of his own. This was more than just a business venture for Ice. His interest in flipping homes and revitalizing spaces became a personal project that represented the kind of transformation he wanted to see in himself. The Vanilla Ice Project, a television show that focused on his real estate exploits, became a surprise hit. Ice didn't just show up on the screen as a celebrity trying to make money, he engaged in the process as a craftsman and entrepreneur, showcasing his knowledge and skills in ways the public never expected from the former rap icon. Through his work in real estate, Ice learned to find purpose beyond his fame. For the first time, he was building something tangible, not just a career that depended on fleeting moments of stardom. His connection to each project, whether it was transforming a rundown house or redesigning a living space, was more about creating lasting value and less about cashing in on his name. This new identity allowed him to focus on things that truly mattered: family, stability, and a sense of achievement that was not driven by external validation. His personal satisfaction in these projects transcended any previous sense of success he had felt in the music industry. Ice found peace and pride in real estate, where each successful renovation was not just a monetary win but a chance to build something real, both literally and figuratively. While Ice's reinvention in music and real estate was important, perhaps the most significant part of his journey was his personal growth. In the chaos of his earlier fame, Ice had lost touch with what really mattered. Fame had brought with it a whirlwind of distractions, superficial relationships, and at times, an emptiness that he struggled to fill. But as he distanced himself from the entertainment industry, he was able to reconnect with his core values and what made him feel grounded. Family became a central focus in this new chapter of his life. No longer was he chasing the superficiality of celebrity. He focused on raising his children and building a life that was not defined by the spotlight. He began to see that true success was not measured by album sales or television ratings, it was about the relationships you cultivate and the life you build away from public opinion. Ice started to prioritize personal connections, finding joy in the little things that once seemed trivial in the face of fame. His desire for genuine relationships grew as he embraced the idea that the people who truly care about you are the ones who help shape your personal narrative. In interviews, he openly discussed how family and friends became the anchor in his life, teaching him the importance of love, trust, and support. When Vanilla Ice revealed his decision to step away from the music industry and the reasons behind it, the public reaction was a mix of surprise, skepticism, and admiration. For many, the news was unexpected. After all, Vanilla Ice had been a household name in the early 90s, known for his chart-topping hit Ice Ice Baby. His fame, however, was fleeting, and the public had largely written him off as a one-hit wonder after the rapid rise and fall of his career. So when he opened up about his departure from the industry, it caught many off guard, sparking reactions across the board. In the early stages of his reveal, many people were quick to dismiss Vanilla Ice's departure as just another publicity stunt. After all, this was the same man who had been the subject of ridicule after his rapid fall from stardom. People questioned whether he was merely attempting to recapture some attention, as he had done in the past, by offering a dramatic exit from the industry. Some of his longtime critics, especially those in the entertainment media, were quick to jump to conclusions. They claimed that Vanilla Ice was simply playing a part, positioning himself as a figure of redemption to gain sympathy or perhaps even land a second wave of fame in a different industry. His decision to step away from music was met with disbelief by some of his most vocal detractors, who could not help but view it as a ploy to generate buzz. However, the longer he stayed away from the limelight, the more it became clear that his decision was not a stunt. As he began to pursue real estate, television projects, and a quieter lifestyle centered around his family, the skepticism began to fade, and a more positive shift in public opinion began to emerge. The entertainment industry's reaction was far from unified. While some saw Vanilla Ice's decision to leave the music world as a sign of growth and maturity, others were less impressed. In an industry that often values youth and commercial success over personal well-being, Ice's choice to leave a lucrative career in music seemed unorthodox. Some of his contemporaries in the music industry praised his decision, understanding that the pressures of fame and the relentless pursuit of chart-topping hits can take a significant toll on an artist's mental health. These figures noted that Ice's departure from the industry might have been a way to protect his own well-being, something that other artists, particularly those who burned out, could learn from. For example, Ice's decision mirrored the similar choices of several artists who had opted to step back from the public eye in the years prior, such as Dave Chappelle, who took a break from comedy at the height of his success. A number of hip-hop veterans saw Vanilla Ice's move as a shift away from the superficial aspects of fame and a return to personal values. In an era where image often took precedence over authenticity, Ice's decision to step away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood was viewed by some as a moment of clarity and self-respect. They admired him for recognizing that he no longer wanted to be associated with an industry that valued quick fame over long-term happiness. However, others in the industry remained skeptical. For some, Vanilla Ice's career and brand were built on the commercial success of his early hits, particularly Ice Ice Baby. His exit from the music scene left a vacuum that, to many, was seen as a missed opportunity. Critics argued that Ice could have leveraged his fame to make a bigger impact within the industry, either by collaborating with new artists or by pivoting to a different genre. These critics suggested that Ice's exit from the limelight was a missed opportunity to evolve as an artist and solidify his legacy in the music world. Vanilla Ice is no longer defined by his past successes or failures. He was charting a new course, not just for his career, but for his life. As he continued to reinvent himself, public opinion began to shift, with many respecting his efforts to redefine his legacy on his own terms. What are your thoughts on Vanilla Ice's revelation? Share your thoughts in the comments.